The minor pentatonic scale is the first thing almost every guitarist learns, and it is also the reason so many solos sound generic. 5 notes, one box shape, and after a while every lick starts sounding like every other lick you have ever played. The fix is not a new scale. It is 2 specific notes you add to the box you already know, and once you hear where they go, you cannot unhear it. Start with the shape everybody knows, the minor pentatonic box, root on the low E string, 5 notes per octave, 2 notes per string. It is called pentatonic because penta means 5, and those 5 notes skip the 2 notes of the full minor scale that create the strongest pull toward resolution. That is exactly why it sounds safe. It is also exactly why it sounds a little flat and predictable once your ear has heard it 1,000 times. The first note to add is the note guitarists call the blue note, and it sits physically 1 fret below the 5th degree of the scale, right in the middle of your existing box shape. In the key of a minor pentatonic, that note is the flat 5th, E flat, sitting 1 fret below the E you already play. Players like B.B. King and Jimi Hendrix use this note constantly, often bending into it or sliding through it rather than landing on it and stopping, because it works best as a passing tone, a note you move through on the way to a note that actually resolves. Adding just this one note turns the 5-note minor pentatonic into what is commonly called the blues scale, and it is the single fastest way to make a basic pentatonic lick sound instantly more expressive. The second note comes from a completely different direction, and this is the one that separates generic blues rock playing from the specific sound of players like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King. Instead of adding a note to the minor pentatonic, you borrow a note from the major pentatonic scale built on the same root, specifically the major third. In A, that is the note C sharp, sitting right next to the minor third, C, that is already in your box. Players move between these 2 notes constantly, sometimes bending the minor third up into the major third, sometimes alternating them within the same lick, creating what is often called the major-minor mix or the Albert King box. This single move is responsible for a huge percentage of the tension and release you hear in blues and blues rock soloing. Here is how to actually practice this instead of just knowing about it intellectually. Take your standard minor pentatonic box and play through it slowly, string by string, the way you always have. Now, on the string where the flat 5th passing tone lives, physically 1 fret below your existing 5th degree note, add it as a quick slide or hammer-on into the note above it. Do not land on it and stop. Move through it. Separately, find the major third, 1 fret above your usual minor third, and practice bending from the minor third up to that major third, holding the bend, and resolving back down. Practice these as 2 completely separate additions before you try combining them, because combining them too early just creates noise instead of intentional phrasing. Where you place these notes matters as much as knowing they exist. The blue note works best as a passing tone in fast runs, not as a target note you land on and let ring, because it wants to resolve somewhere else almost immediately. The major third works best as a target note in slower, more vocal-style phrasing, exactly the kind of bend and hold move that makes a single sustained note sound like it is singing instead of just sitting there. Mixing up where you use each one is what separates a player who knows the theory from a player who actually sounds like it. The deeper lesson here applies far beyond these 2 specific notes. The minor pentatonic box is not a cage. It is a starting skeleton that every great blues and rock soloist immediately starts adding color tones to, chromatic passing notes, borrowed notes from the parallel major scale, and notes that exist specifically to create tension. Before resolving back to the safety of the pentatonic notes you already know. Once you understand that the 5-note box is the floor, not the ceiling, you start hearing exactly where every great solo you love is quietly stepping outside of it. If you want more breakdowns that turn theory into something you can actually use in a real solo, subscribe and hit the bell, because I cover a new concept every week. And tell me in the comments, which key do you want the blue note and major third mapped out in next? See you in the next one.